Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader Guide, Operative Guide, the third archetype in a row. What we are about to cover for the Operative are all the subclasses, sub-archetypes, as well as all the talents, skills, abilities, and how it merges with the Homeworld and with Origin. So you can create a lot of different builds without spoiling the game. Let's not waste time, let's go.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.
So, before we start with the Operative, we need to say what it is. What is the archetype? Operative relies on perception, intelligence, and ballistics if he's not a melee. If he's a melee, then he relies on perception, intelligence, and weapon skill. Now, the main question is, should you play Operative as ranged or melee? Okay, in 90% of cases, Operative is better as ranged. Okay, no matter if you decide to go with Assassin, Bounty Hunter, or a Strategist. Now, as far as Assassin go, this is your melee chance. Okay, it's valid as ranged as well, but Assassin is melee. Now, what is, for example, the difference between Warrior Assassin and Operative Assassin? Okay, Operative Assassin is more like a supportive assassin that debuffs enemies, okay, and then hurts enemies, but also allies benefit out of his debuffs. Alright, while Warrior Assassin is straight on single target damage burst. Okay, no debuffs, no crowd control, nothing. Operative is a classic supportive assassin. That's the main difference between those two archetypes of assassin, between Warrior and Operative. Now, the second one that you can play Operative would be the Bounty Hunter. Now, what is the Bounty Hunter? Bounty Hunter is straight ranged sniper, and it's the best way to play the Bounty Hunter, as a sniper. Okay, and this is probably the best archetype for the Operative, to be honest. And the third would be a Grand Strategist. Grand Strategist can be played as both melee or ranged. It's better if you play it as ranged. And it's a classic operative support with 1 million debuffs on enemies. Okay, that's the main feature of that operative, Grand Strategist operative. Debuffs and debuffs only, very few buffs, but crazy amount of debuffs and map control. And the last one would be the Exemplar, but we're gonna talk about the Exemplar later on. Now, what is important to say about the Operative as far as the Homeworld goes? You can play him as a Voidborn. You can play him as a Forge World, that we speak about the Homeworlds, of course. You can play with a Forge World Analytics, because intelligence, okay, you need it as an Operative. You can play with the Imperial World as an all-around choice if you don't know what to do, and you can play as a Fortress if you are going with Ballistics. Okay, so what is the combination with Origin? Astra Militarium Commander is great on a Bounty Hunter archetype, and the best Homeworld for that type of operative would be the Fortress World. Now that's the combination: Fortress World into Commander, into Operative, and then Operative into Bounty Hunter. The next would be the Commissar, which is a great Grand Strategist. For the Grand Strategist preparation, as a Commissar, we can play with all Homeworlds, but the best Homeworld would be the Imperial. The next one would be the Crime Lord. Crime Lord is a pure assassin. So if you wish to play an Operative as a melee and you want to scale into assassin, this is the choice to make. Okay, absolutely all Homeworld that I gave, Voidborn, Forge, Imperial, and Fortress, count good for the assassin, but the best one by far would be Forge Analytics. Also, you can play him as a Voidborn, but later about it. The next one is Ministerium Priest. Operative is a bad priest. The next one would be Navy Officer. Operative is a bad Navy Officer, so those two are ignored. The next one would be a Noble. Noble is great for a Grand Strategist archetype of Operative. Alright, and the best would be Imperial Homeworld for the Noble Operative Grand Strategist. The next one would be a Sanctioned Psyker. Now, how the things stand with a Sanctioned Psyker? Sanctioned Psyker is best if you pick the Voidborn Homeworld and then you combine with the Diviner. That's valid on all three archetypes. So, on Bounty Hunter, on Assassin, and on Grand Strategist. This is like a mage-like all-around operative. The next would be Biomancer. Biomancer, Voidborn Homeworld, is valid on the Assassin. Okay, and that would be enough builds, I guess. You can extract like 5 or 10 more builds for sure out of the Homeworld Origin combo for the operative, but I believe it's enough. You got nearly 10 that I gave right now. Back to the archetypes. Operative. Let's roll the operative. The first thing that we have on the operative would be analyze enemies. The keystone feature of the operative. Bread and butter, what it is. At the start of each turn, the operative inflicts 1 stack of exploit effect on all enemies in the operative line of sight. If the operative hits a target with an exploit stack, the attack deals +5 multiplied perception bonus percentage more damage. The damage is also increased by 10% for each exploit on the target. The attack removes all exploits from the target. Let's translate. When you play as an operative, a passive ability called Analyze analyzes all enemies around you, and when you analyze them, you deal more damage against them. That's the main feature. And now all of the abilities and all of the skills will upgrade that feature to do different things when you attack, or when you attack and then your companions have benefits out of it. That's the main feature. Once we apply Analyze, and when enemies get enough stacks, we can use Expose Weakness. So once those enemies, again, once you analyze them, once you study them, then it goes with Expose Weakness. You expose weakness on enemies. What does it do? The operative removes all exploits from the target, and it's gonna decrease enemies' dodge, parry, and armor by -10 plus exploit stacks plus the perception bonus percentage until the start of the operative's next turn. You make enemies vulnerable for the entire team, and that's why it's called Expose Weakness, and it's very good. Okay, so operative is there to eliminate enemies, in other words, at least early on in the game. So your main combo is Analyze enemies, Expose Weakness, hit. That's about it. Very simple class to play. Very simple archetype to play. Now let's check the abilities of the operative. The first one will be Precise Attack. For the next attack against a target affected by an exploit, the target cover efficiency will be reduced by -5 plus perception multiplied stacks of exploit percentage. This attack will have +5 plus perception multiplied stacks of exploit hit chance. Let's translate. You will hurt enemies in cover more, and you will have a better chance to hit them. That's the attack. Precise Attack is very good no matter if you decide to opt in for Assassin build, for Bounty Hunter, or for the Grand Strategist. It's like bread and butter ability, okay, but there is a better one. Let's go. The next one will be Joint Analysis. Until the operative next turn, their allies' attacks also remove exploits and deal intelligence plus intelligence more damage. This is a great skill to learn if you are going for the Grand Strategist archetype. If you're gonna go for the Assassin after level 16, and if you're gonna go for the Bounty Hunter, you don't need Joint Analysis. But on a Grand Strategist, this is a must. There is a better one. Sniping Spot. While in cover, the operative gains 25% cover efficiency, 15 perception, and 15 flat ballistic. the effect lasts until the operative moves and it does not stack. No matter if it does not stack, this is the best ability and the first one that you should learn. Great preparation for the bounty hunter and for the grand strategist. On assassin, so and so, okay, because you could switch from melee to range with assassin, it depends out of the build of course, but on bounty hunter, this is the first ability that you're gonna learn if you want to play as a bounty hunter operative. The next one would be intimidation. The operative next non-area attack inflicts intimidated effect on the first target hit by the attack and all enemies in a 5-cell radius around the target. The damage dealt by intimidated enemies is reduced by -2 perception bonus until the operative next turn. This negative effect is doubled for enemies with less than 3 times intelligence bonus percentage armor. Now you remember what I said at the start of this video. Operative uses perception and intelligence, and this is why I picked Homeworlds and Origins with huge perception and intelligence so we can profit out of the active abilities. Okay, this ability for example is a pure example of how it's supposed to be and why we pick Homeworld and Origin like that. Okay, high perception, high intelligence, high ballistics on a range, high melee skill on a melee. Now, weapon skill, excuse me. Now, what does intimidation do? Is it good or not? When you hit enemies with intimidation, you reduce their damage and you reduce their armor. It's a second best active ability for the operative. It's valid on all 3 preparation archetypes: assassin, bounty hunter, and grand strategist. Best on the assassin though. And this intimidation is even more insane if you take a correct talent later on and upgrade intimidation. I'm gonna talk about it a bit later, but it's a good talent, good active ability. The next one and the last one would be a tactical knowledge. Tactical knowledge, the operative removes 1 exploit from each enemy in a 5-cell radius around a point within 10 cells from the operative. If there is only 1 enemy in the area, the operative removes all exploit stacks from the enemy. All allies will gain 2 times number of remove exploits percentage armor until the end of combat. If 4 more exploits are removed, the operative gains plus number of remove exploits damage until the end of combat. So, let's translate this one as well. You will cast a huge AoE spell in the middle of enemies. You will remove exploits from them. And if you play and if you prepare as a grand strategist, you're gonna give solid armor to your allies. If you play as a bounty hunter or as an assassin, you're gonna deal more damage against all of those enemies in the area of effect where you casted this tactical knowledge ability. In other words, this is a great ability. The best one is sniping spot. Bread and butter is precise attack, and you need it. Intimidation is absolutely superb if mixed with the right talent. Tactical knowledge is best on a grand strategist prep. Solid on a bounty hunter sniper as well, very solid. Joint analysis only valid for the preparation on a grand strategist. Now you decide what you wanna play. I told you what's good on what type of operative. And now comes the worst part and my favorite one, the talents. Let's begin. TE, Tide of Excellence. When the operative triggers an exploit on an enemy, the operative gains +1 damage and +2 armor penetration until the end of combat and it stacks. Brilliant talent. Valid on Assassin and Bounty Hunter preparation. Okay, if you wanna play those two, you should learn it. Not on a Grand Strategist though. The next one would be Weak Body, Weak Soul. Exposed weakness also reduces enemy's toughness and willpower by -3 multiplied intelligence bonus for a round. Valid on all, best on a Grand Strategist prep. The next one would be Fresh Target. Valid on Assassin and Bounty Hunter. Whenever the operative attacks an enemy that is at full wounds, that attack deals +10 plus perception bonus percentage more damage to the enemy. That's why it's valid to Assassin and Bounty Hunter. Those are damage dealing archetypes. Okay, not a Grand Strategist. The next one would be Assisted Analysis. At the start of the turn, the operative inflicts one exploit on one enemy for every 2 of the operative allies who have the enemy in their line of sight. This can trigger on multiple enemies. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant talent. You should learn it among the first talents because this is your bread and butter. Okay, analyzing enemies and exposing their weaknesses. Now AA is valid on all preparations for Assassin, Bounty Hunter and Grand Strategist, but the best is on a Grand Strategist. The next one would be Instant Exposure. Expose weakness only costs, or better to say costs nothing, costs 0 action points. Valid on all. Best on a Grand Strategist. Bread and butter talent. Extremely good. Your bread and butter expose weakness costs potatoes. Okay. Instant exposure is great. The next one would be Pattern Recognition. Valid on all. Best if you want to play Grand Strategist. Solid talent. Pattern Recognition at the start of each enemy's turn. If that enemy is affected by an exploit, they inflict one exploit on a random enemy not affected by exploits in a 3-cell radius. In other words, exploits spread like a disease. That's what it is in short. When exploits spread, you're gonna deal more damage to the enemies that are with exploits. The next one would be Comprehensive Analysis. Valid on all, solid talent, nothing special though. If the target of analyzed enemies has 2 or more exploits, the target gains an additional exploit. The more exploits you stack on a target, the more damage you will deal against them. Okay. Could be good on Assassin and on a Bounty Hunter, better than on the Grand Strategist, for example. The next one would be ID, Inflict Despair. Valid on all, absolutely brilliant talent, profits on Assassin and Bounty Hunter, not good on a Grand Strategist. Whenever the operative hits an enemy that is affected by both an exploit and exposed weakness, the enemy loses -3 movement points and their damage is reduced by -20% on their next turn. As I said, Bounty Hunter and Assassin. Deep up damage dealing talent. The next one would be PL, solid talent, nothing special, valid on all 3 subclasses of operative. Passive learning. On their first turn in combat, the operative randomly distributes the same number of exploits as when using analyzed enemies among all enemies in a 10-cell radius around the operative. In this game, why is it solid and not great? You won't be in a situation when enemies are always 10 cells around you. Sometimes they're gonna be 30, 40 cells away, and then the talent is completely useless. That's why I didn't say that the talent is great, it's just solid, nothing else. At the start of each of the operative's subsequent turn, they distribute half as many exploits, half the base amount among all enemies in a 2-cell radius around the operative. You stack them faster, but again, you won't profit out of every combat with this talent. The next one would be Offensive Pattern Prediction. The operative suffers -3 multiplied intelligence bonus percentage less damage from enemies affected by exploits. OPP. Absolutely great talent, and it's valid on every single preparation for the next class of operative. Assassin, Bounty Hunter and Grand Strategist. To make it short, what the talent does, you're gonna receive less damage. That's what it does. The next one would be a Reactive Study. If an enemy affected by an exploit within 5 cells from the operative attacks the operative or their ally, the enemy is affected by an additional exploit. So in your radius, enemies that are around the operative, close by, whenever they try to do something, they're gonna receive an exploit, so you can hurt them more. RS is a solid talent, it's valid on all, but the best to be used on an Assassin, because Assassin needs to go in, and we are talking about 5 cells around the operative. Assassin. Why is not Bounty Hunter? Because you're usually gonna play him as a sniper, and what happens then? You're 2 screens away from enemies, so this talent won't proc. The next one would be Informed Hit. Absolutely great talent, best on a Bounty Hunter, It's valid on all though. If the operative uses precise attack on a target affected by 10 intelligence bonus or more exploits and scores a hit, that hit becomes a crit. You crit more often. Right? You're gonna crit more often. That's the talent. That's why it's great, and that's why it's best on a bounty hunter. You wanna crit as crazy with a sniper. Good on assassin as well. But have in mind that it only counts for a precise attack. And that's the active ability, active spell. The next one would be Combat Insight. While the operative perception bonus is 10 or higher, they gain +1 action point and ignore enemy damage deflection. CI, absolutely brilliant talent, valid on every single preparation of operative for the next subclass. Assassin, Bounty Hunter, and Grand Strategist. But this is a later upgrade. What it means, you should take it over here or over here, okay? That will be like level 14, 15, this is 16, 14, 15, this is when you should take it. Because you won't get any benefits before that. The next one would be S, Sharpshooter, brilliant talent, valid on all, best on a Bounty Hunter. In other words, you're gonna hurt more with ballistics, or better to say with ranged weapons. Simple as that, I don't even need to read it, this is more damage. End of story, you need it, you must take it. That's about it. The next one is Uncanny Sight. The operative inflicts an exploit even on enemies which are out of the operative's line of sight at the start of the turn. Great, if you don't have them in your line of sight, you're still gonna inflict exploits. Now, US is absolutely valid on all archetypes for the operative, Assassin, Bounty Hunter, and Grand Strategist. Ballistics Calculation. If the operative attacks a target affected by an exploit from a distance of 15 perception bonus cells or further, the attack deals additional damage. This is a brilliant talent, only valid on a Bounty Hunter, Sniper, Operative, and that's about it. But it's brilliant. The next one would be Insightful Precision. Precise attack grants the operative a bonus to perception equal to the number of exploits removed divided by 3 to a minimum of 1. IP is a solid talent and it's valid on every single archetype for the operative. The next one would be Sniper Expertise. Sniping Spot, which I told you that it's absolutely hilariously good active ability, additionally grants the operative perception bonus plus 5% armor penetration against enemies that are 7 cells away or further. You should take this one immediately, especially when you want to play with a Bounty Hunter. Brutal talent, extremely good. The next one will be IT, Improved Tactics. Tactical knowledge requires 3 exploits instead of 4. The operative damage is increased by plus intelligence. You're gonna have high intelligence, okay, if you pick the Homeworlds and Origins that I gave you, especially if you wanna play as a Psyker operative, okay. Improved Tactics is brilliant in that case. Valid on all archetypes of operative. The next one would be Joint Offense. Upgrade. The operative allies gain operative's intelligence bonus divided by 2 hit chance and critical hit chance while attacking targets affected by exploits. Brilliant talent. Valid on all subclasses, best on a Grand Strategist operative. The next one will be Terrifying Presence. If Intimidation kills the target, the damage of all other enemies in the area of intimidation is reduced by an additional -4 multiplied intelligence bonus perception. Let's translate this. When you whack someone with intimidation, you ruin their defenses, you debuff them like crazy. With this talent, Intimidation will debuff them even further. It's a great talent. Terrifying Presence is valid on all archetypes of operative, but it's best on the assassin. The next one would be Continuous Analysis. At the start of the operative turn, the enemy with the largest number of exploits receive an additional exploit stack. If 2 or more enemies are tied for the largest number of exploit stacks, one of those enemies is chosen at random. This is a solid talent, if you ask me, not worth the taking, solid, and it's valid on all archetypes of operative, but there are better talents. Assured analysis, while the operative is in half cover, analyze enemies costs 1 action point instead of 2. Now this is a great one, okay, and it's valid on all archetypes for the operative. And the last one would be CP, covered protocol. While the operative is in half cover, their cover efficiency is increased by 15%. This bonus is doubled if the operative has not moved during their turn. Valid on all, best on Bounty Hunter and Grand Strategist. Now what about talents 2? How do we decide what we wanna go for? It's always good to have it will not die later on, to go with a solid projectile weapon or laser weapons if you're gonna play as a bounty hunter sniper, so you go with some ranged weapon proficiency. If you go as an assassin, you need some melee weapon proficiencies, your weapon of choice of course. It's always great to have nimble for the bonus dodge, so you can dodge something, okay, because you are squishy as an operative. For example, having extra movement points doesn't hurt as well. Of course, Grenadier is absolutely great on every single class and subclass in a game, no matter if it's operative, warrior, or I don't know what. It doesn't matter what you play. So those would be your talents too. And the last thing that's left would be ulti upgrade. To know what ulti does, we need to check what's the dismantling attack. The operative immediately inflicts one exploit on all enemies in combat, no matter how many there are. Then it makes a free attack against the target you inflicted the dismantling attack. That attack will always hit, which is a great thing. Until the end of combat, the target of this attack suffers -30 penalty to dodge and -30 penalty to armor. This is your boss killer. This is like elite enemies killer, okay, because elites and bosses, they usually have huge dodge or huge armor. This is 30% less and your entire team will be now able to hit them. So this is like a remove the toughest enemy on the screen ulti. Okay, now, what are the best upgrades? I mark them as 4-3-2-1. The best upgrade to take would be the target also provokes an attack of opportunity whenever it attacks. Because once you mark that target, whenever that boss or that tougher enemy tries to attack anyone over there, he's gonna receive attacks of opportunity. Okay, they're gonna burst him out when he tries to deal damage. That's why this is a great thing to upgrade on a dismantling attack. The next upgrade should be number 3. Dismantling attack also intimidates all enemies in a 5-cell radius around the target, reduce the dodge even further and the armor by additional 15% on top of those 30, that's nearly 45%. Okay, they're gonna be even squishier and you're gonna hit them even more often. These 2 upgrades are the best ones to take on a dismantling attack. If you play as a Grand Strategist, then you can opt in for the first 2, right? But these 2 are absolutely great. The 4th one is brutal. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I thank to all of my patrons and all of the members on my YouTube channel. As always, thank you all for your support and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.